Rebecca. Welcome to the Spark Lab. This is Book and Cook, and today we are going to be making Gemista, which are Greek stuffed peppers. And this is a family recipe of one of our staff members here at Henry Ford Centennial Library. It's very tasty because I did it over the weekend and I really loved it. Now, when I did it at home, I did use lamb as a meat, which you can do. However, today we are going to be doing some substitutions. We are not going to be using meat. We are going to make the vegetarian version. So let me go through what the ingredients are. I've already prepped everything, so you didn't have to sit here and watch me chop, chop, chop. So two things though to note that are very important about the vegetables. You're going to have 6 peppers and 6 tomatoes. With your green peppers, you're going to take the top off, get rid of the stem, take out all of the ribs and the seeds, throw those away. Save the top though, because you're going to be using that once you have stuffed the pepper and you're ready to roast it. With the tomatoes, again, cut the top off. You're then going to scoop out the insides of the tomatoes and save those because you're going to be using those as part of the recipe. Then you're going to place all of your vegetables in a large baking dish. And let me tell you, large baking dish is important. Here at the library, we only have small toaster ovens to cook in, so we have things, jammed into a little tiny pan. Not the best, but it will work in a pinch. You are going to, and like I said, you're going to save all of the insides of the tomatoes. We'll be using those for cooking. So you have 6 green peppers, cored, 6 tomatoes, cored, saving the insides of the tomatoes. You also will be using a cup of olive oil. You'll be using it divided, so make sure it's a cup that you can measure out of, like I have my liquid measuring cup here. You will be using 1 clove of garlic. I like extra garlic, so there's actually 2 cloves in here finely chopped. Shh, don't tell anybody. You'll be using 1 large onion chopped. Two cups of non-aromatic rice. That means just your run-of-the-mill long grain rice, not jasmine rice, not basmati rice, just plain old boring long grain rice. You will be using a cup of dry white wine. Now here at the library, we are also not using a cup of dry white wine. Some substitutes you can use for wine. I'm actually using a better than bullion, no beef added, vegetable base. I took the amount to make a cup of bullion and mixed it in with water. You can use chicken stock or beef stock or lamb stock as a 1-to-1 ratio for the liquids for a cup of wine. Now, it will not taste quite the same. Bullion also especially has extra salt in it, so you're going to want to be careful when adding salt later. You're probably going to want to taste before you try to add any salt. We will also be using another cube equivalent, either 1 bullion cube or the cube equivalent of, like I said, I'm using better than bullion, the no beef base. You'll be using that. You will be using salt and pepper. I have grinders. I salt and pepper to taste. There are measurements in the recipe, but I often do it just to taste because salt especially, people have different tastes on what their salt level is. So it's best if you taste as you're going and decide to add more salt or pepper as needed. You're also going to be doing 4 tablespoons of dried oregano. You'll be using half in with the rice and half with the remainder of the tomatoes to pour around your vegetables while they cook. You will also be it asks for 3 tablespoons of dried mint. I had difficulty ordering dried mint. Kroger's does not carry it on a regular basis. So instead I am using fresh mint. Now when you're substituting a fresh herb for a dry herb in either direction, dry herbs are more intense. So if you're going from dry to fresh, you need 3 times the amount of a fresh herb in order to match your recipe. Or if you're going from fresh to dry, you need 1/3 of a dry herb to match your recipe. As I said, we have the tomato pulp. We'll be using that 2 different times. We're going to be using that in with the rice mixture to go inside the vegetables, and then also in the mixture that goes on the potatoes that goes around the outside. So we also have some fresh chopped parsley. That is supposed to be fresh. Finely chopped, about a 1/2 cup. This is a little bit more. I like parsley too, so I threw extra in there. About a 1/2 bunch will make you a 1/2 cup. When you take the parsley, you want to chop the stems off because the stems are just not very tasty. Save them though, don't throw them out. Save them and you can throw them in like a soup stock or in something else that you are either going to cook a lot longer and cook down a lot, or that you're going to just put them in for flavor and then remove them before you actually use it, like when you strain a stock or a broth. Also, you're going to need a little bit of extra water. As I said, we have 3 potatoes. We're going to have 3 potatoes. They're very thinly sliced. You want them thinly sliced so they'll cook at the same time that the vegetables do. So let's get started. We're going to turn on our burner and we're going to add about a 1/4 cup of the olive oil. Now while that's heating up, I'm going to put my stuff, and I'm going to start my oven. You want to preheat your oven to 350 degrees. So get it in our oil hot. Now I have an induction burner here, so as soon as I picked up that pan, my burner started beeping at me, telling me that I needed to stop doing that. So the first thing we're going to do is you need to season the interior of the tomatoes and the peppers with salt if you'd like. I'm not going to at this point in time because I know I'm going to end up with a lot of salt inside of but the salt will draw out some of the water, so you may want to pour, extra water out. You can pour the tomato water in with your puree, but you do want to salt the insides of the vegetables. So let me do that real quick. Okay, then you want to add your onion. And you're going to want to saute your onion until it gets translucent. So it's going to take us a little while. We will see you keep stirring your onion around until it gets see-through. Translucent is see-through. So we are not actually going to caramelize the onions. We're just sauteing them and breaking them down a little bit. You want to remember that you want to keep the chop on your onion so that they all kind of cook at the same rate. So you want to try to keep your chop even. And a little tip, when you're chopping your onion on, you're always like eyes are watering and you're sniffling when you chop an onion. When you chop it, don't cut the root end off your onion when you're chopping, because that's what causes it to bleed and give off the stuff that makes your nose all runny. So if you leave the end on while you're chopping and then just either toss the little bit of end in a baggie in the freezer with those parsley stalks for your next stock that you make, or you can just get rid of it. If you have a compost heap, because you're a gardener, that's a good thing to put onions in. You do have to watch when you're putting stuff in your compost heap that's edible, because if you think that, you know, it's edible to you, it's edible to whatever other little animals are running around. Oh, that's telling me that my oven is ready, but I'm not ready for it. Okay, so our onions are translucent. See how they're a little bit, they're a little shiny, a little see-through, not all white like they were when I threw them in. So once you've done that, you want to grab your garlic and add your garlic. Get that all in there. Stir that around. Wow, I wish you guys could smell this. It smells amazing. Get it so your garlic, you don't want your garlic to burn. You just want your garlic to get a little cooked with the onions. Oh, this smells so amazing. We are going to have some jealous people out in the library today. Okay, got the onions done. So now what you want to do is you want to take your rice, pour it in. So remember, that's 2 cups of rice. You want to pour that in. Keep stirring that around. Now you want to stir your rice till the rice looks wet. Now does that mean it's got like water in it? No, it's just make sure it's well coated with the oil and the juices from the onion. So that's not going to take all that long. And it's going to look kind of like that. So it looks wet. Burner keeps yelling at me. Okay, then you want to take your wine, which isn't really wine for us, but if it was wine, once you add it, you really want to cook it for about 5 minutes or so that you cook all of the alcohol out of the wine, so you don't end up with a really sharp, bitter flavor. Nice thing is, we're not cooking it for that, so we just need to stir it till my stock the bullion that I just added gets warm. Okay, then we want to add the rest of the bullion. Add it to the rice mixture. Clean your spoon off because I actually need this spoon later. Forgot to grab a second spoon. So stir that all up. And add your mint. Make sure to get all your mint in there. And when the mint starts heating up, it smells even more amazing. This just smells so absolutely fabulous. And about half of your oregano. Like I said, you're going to want some of it for later, but you want to add about half of your oregano now and save half. Just put it in the tomatoes because that's where it's going. Smells so good. So you want to add half of your tomato into the pot. And like I said, you want to save half of the tomato for later. So that's about half. Okay, so you're going to want to cook this mixture here for about 5 minutes or so until most of the water from the tomatoes has been absorbed. You really don't want to watch me cooking for the next 5 minutes. So I will be back when this is cooked down and we'll show you how we fill the vegetables. See you in a little bit. Hi, welcome back. So our rice mixture is mostly, the water is mostly absorbed. So you want to turn your burner off. And you want to add your parsley. And you want to let that cool for a little bit once you've added your parsley. So that's what it looks like with all the extra parsley. It looks very green and yummy and delicious. So let that cool a little bit. A little clean up here. Don't forget to add your pepper. And a little bit of salt. Not too much. Remember, we're using the bullion, so that's going to have a tendency to make things a little saltier. So go ahead and stir Stir that all in while that's cooling. That'll help get your mixture cooled some. And while you're doing that, I'm setting a piece of paper down underneath my pan because my cutting board's a little dirty here. You want to grab your peppers and your tomatoes. Take the tops off. Then you're going to want to fill the insides of your vegetables. Now you don't want to fill these too full because the rice will expand while it's cooking and you don't want all your vegetables to pop. And as I said here, I don't have a lot of expansion room in this pan. So, and right now I'm just going to fill these 2 peppers and these 2 tomatoes that I have here in this pan. Try not to spill over the sides. This tomato is going to be a little strange. Okay. Then you want to take the puree that you had, what's left, you want to mix in the rest of your oregano, a little pepper, a little salt, the remainder of your olive oil, and mix that up really well. Okay, then you want to take your potatoes and you want to kind of slide them between your other vegetables. Like I said, I don't have a lot of room in here, so I'm actually going to pick the peppers and the peppers at least up and put them under the peppers. So then I have a little bit in there. If you have a large baking dish, this works a lot better. Okay, then you want to take your olive oil and tomato sauce mixture and kind of pour it over the top of the over the top of the potatoes, and just kind of get it around in the pan. I'll have to tilt my pan a little bit when I get a chance. Okay, tilt it around. Then you want to take a little bit of water, and you want to add enough water that it covers the potatoes about halfway. So fill up your pan with some water, not too much because the vegetables are going to cook down and they're going to produce some extra liquid too. Put your lids back on your veggies. Take this out of the way here. Put the lids all back on your veggies. You can see not quite full, and you can see the water around in there. So put the lids back on your veg. Try to match them up with the correct ones. Do the best you can. Like this tomato isn't going to work real well because the tomato's kind of jammed in there. Okay, then you're going to want to put them in your preheated oven. And you're going to want to cook those for the first round for about 35 to 45 minutes. So while those are cooking, I'm going to take a little break. You can take a little break, clean up some of these dishes and things, and we'll be right back. Hi, welcome back. So our peppers and tomatoes have been cooking for about a half hour. So you're going to want to take them out of the oven. And be very, very careful because it's very, very watery. And you can see them kind of right here. I don't want to tilt too much. Now you're going to want to take a spoon, like I said, because I have a very small pan. It's a little difficult. I wish I had a turkey baster. It would make life easier. But we're going to scooch this pepper out of the way a bit. You're going to want to baste your vegetables. Throw a little of that water in to help moisten the rice into each of your veg. Tomato. Now if you decide you don't want potatoes with this, you're basically going to cook your vegetables until they are soft, which after about 35 minutes they're pretty well cooked. Mostly right now what you're trying to do is get your potatoes cooked. So you're going to take your vegetables, put them back in the oven, make sure it's still at 350 degrees, and you're going to cook them about another half an hour. Okay, we'll see you again when everything is all done. Hi, welcome back. So, your peppers and tomatoes and potatoes have been in the oven for about an hour now. Your dish is done when the potatoes are soft and hopefully golden. Mine's a little watery, as I said, got a small pan. It doesn't really bubble off, but it's all set to come out. We're going to carefully remove things from the oven. Very, very carefully. And here we go, all set. Be sure to turn your oven off and cool down. And there is our finished dish. It's really, the pan is really, really full, so I don't want to really tilt it much. But it is very good. Potatoes are all done. Oops, can't get it out from underneath the pepper. But the tomatoes and the peppers are all cooked and soft. The rice is well cooked, and it's going to be really tasty when you get a chance to eat it. Thank you so much for joining us here in the Spark Lab today for Book and Cook. Book and Cook at the Dearborn Public Library is funded in part by a LSTA Library Science and Technology Act funding that is administered through the Library of Michigan. Thank you. Join us next month where we're going to be doing some noodles because winter time is soup time. We have a great display at the library to pick up some books on soup. We'll be doing soups next month in February. Please remember too to stop by the full bookshelves on the second floor and take a look and see what kind of cookbooks you can take home and add to your collection. I am Rebecca, and I look forward to seeing you next time when we're here in the Spark Lab. Bye!